Hi, I'm Marco Bollinger. I'm here with iSeeiTravel. We're a media company that focuses on the conscious traveler, and I have Paula Vlamings here, Associate Director of Planeterra today. Full disclosure, Paula and iSeeiTravel met at a conference recently in Costa Rica. We had a great time running from talk to talk, presentation to presentation, and really just wanted to share a little bit of your perspective and what Planeterra does. So maybe we'll just start right there. Why don't you tell the world a little bit about Planeterra?
Well, Planeterra, it's a foundation. It's a corporate foundation, and it is the corporation is a travel company. It's the largest adventure travel company in the world, and it was founded in 2003 by the CEO of that company called G Adventures. To really look at a way to give back to the communities where they were running trips. They saw a lot of need in those communities, and they were benefiting greatly from those communities. So he started Planeterra to really allow the travelers an opportunity to give back in those communities. So from that, we've grown. I've been there about a year, and we're growing those projects. We have about 20 projects in 30 countries. And we're just looking to make sure that we leverage the travel community and the tourist travel dollars to support those projects around the world.
You mentioned obviously your connection with G Adventures. I'd like you to talk a little bit about some of the. There's a lot of nonprofits that are constantly out there trying to raise money. You guys have been fortunate enough to have some of your costs covered by a large company. That typically comes with some caveats or a relationship you have to have with this corporate sponsor. Maybe tell us a little bit about how navigating that relationship has affected what you guys are able to do, and also perhaps any tips you have for nonprofits out there who are looking to partner with a larger organization in order to raise their outreach and do more work.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way we're different, I think a lot of companies will partner with a local nonprofit, and that'll sort of be their corporate social responsibility, or that's the charity that they give to. And I think a lot of travel companies do that. They look for different NGOs around the world that they partner with. I think what makes us different is that we're completely integrated. We're part of G Adventures, but we're also our own nonprofit. And I think because of that, we sort of are able to leverage the eyes and ears on the ground. Gap Adventures, or G Adventures, they changed their name recently. They've got people all over the world. And so we have ambassadors that are also tour leaders that help us keep an eye on our projects. And I think it allows us to really have a larger reach and a more integrated reach. And our hope is that we can create economic opportunities in those communities using the tourist industry. So because if we start a little small business in a community in Peru or in Cambodia or Tanzania, and it's a travel-related business, we sort of know that we can make it successful because G Adventures brings the market. Sure. And so that partnership where we can ensure that we can not only keep an eye on the projects, but we can sort of bring the market and create those opportunities long-term. Because we really want to get to the root of some of the problems. And so much of that is education, and it's jobs and training. It's not just these one-off projects where you build a school and you go away. You have to make sure that there are teachers. You have to make sure that those kids have scholarships to go to school. You have to make sure that there's books on an ongoing basis. So because we're in these communities, the company is in these communities for years and years, we can take a longer-term approach. And I think that's what makes us different. Because we not only have the corporate support long-term, but we also have the on-the-ground support long-term.
So given you guys have been there a long time, or at least most of the places, or a lot of the places you're working, what have you learned in terms of, really getting travelers to engage with those locals, to maybe volunteer or, really help support? Is there anything that, you can give as far as advice or just, things that maybe surprised you as you were learning about how to make this process work?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting and was surprising to me is how connected people feel on these trips. And G Adventures really focuses on trying to engage with the locals. I think a lot of tourism in general, the only locals you encounter are your bartender, or your server, your maids. But I think when people really connect on a real level and understand the issues of what's going on in these communities, they care, and they care for a long, long time. And it's not really that they're changing those people's lives, but they come home and they really feel like it's changed their life. in a way that they want to care. And I think that's what travel does. And I think by volunteering or by visiting the project and by engaging in a real way, a real substantive way, having conversations, spending time learning where they live, where they eat, I think that's a very different experience than sort of touring around in a bus in an air-conditioned motor coach. So that's what travel can do, and I think our projects get the traveler into people's homes on a local transportation. They're eating the meals with the local families. That's an opportunity that you don't get very often, and then they can learn about the way that our projects are engaged in the travel community to make a difference.
I always feel like, there's a certain community already out there that is engaged in some of this volunteering and giving back, and I'm always very interested in how do we get the people who aren't as exposed to this stuff involved and excited about this. Given you guys work closely with Gia Ventures, which is a very large company and has a lot of these people who probably aren't exposed to some of these elements of responsible, conscious, volunteer travel. What have you found works, what doesn't work, with regard to exposing these people and getting them excited about coming out and joining the Planeterra environment?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the voluntourism business is booming. I think there's a lot of people with this economy right now that want to feel engaged, they want to make a difference. It's hard to get them plugged into the good projects, into the right projects, and I think educating people while they're on vacation is not an easy thing. You can't beat them over the head.
Right.
Yet at the same time, you really want to make them aware that these places are under threat, that there's an entire population serving the tourist industry that's not being taken care of. So it's a real fine line, and we struggle with that, with being able to educate and not being able to, not wanting to preach.
Totally.
So we, I think social media, we're really stepping that up and trying to figure out a way to engage with a lot of storytelling. And you just always want to get your storytelling better. So we definitely want to engage and bring those stories out of those communities and put that in front of people. But it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to get better at it.
Well, the process, I think, is really the key. It's always going to be a bit of a struggle. It's always going to change a bit.
Yeah.
Well, how about some of these stories? Maybe you can give me some examples of some of the projects. I mean, there's so many projects you guys are involved in. Maybe you can tell me some of the ones you're really excited about now.
Yeah, we have a lot of different projects. We started organizing around 4 different funds because we realized that to fundraise or get people excited about one project and then it's done, you sort of lose the connection and the understanding that so much of this is, education is connected to jobs, healthcare is connected to education, all of those things. So we're organizing now around 4 funds, and we have a social and environment fund that really looks at conservation and social issues. We have a destination preservation fund that's really looking at how do we protect these iconic places that are sort of under threat from so much tourism.
Okay.
We have an emergency and preparedness fund because I think as a company and as an organization, when you see some of the earthquake that happened in Haiti, the floods recently in Thailand, the floods in Peru, we do reach out to our travel community because when they see these disasters, they want to help, and so we sort of are a clearinghouse for that, and we partner with emergency relief organizations on the ground. So we're organizing around these funds to bring in support for not just one project in one area, but a larger suite of projects, if you will. But recently I was in Cambodia in March, and we're looking to support. It's an organization called New Hope, and after the Khmer Rouge left, that existence for so many people is very, very fresh. And one of the largest slums outside of Siem Reap, which is where Angkor Wat is located, it's huge. It's just, much of those communities were left just with nothing. And we just built a little restaurant, so Gia Adventures travelers would come through, but we're training those folks on how to work in a restaurant. They just started bringing those travelers in, and they get everything from the local market, and you have dinner right there with the local community. And from that, we were able to help them support a healthcare clinic, a little clinic, a healthcare clinic, and a little educational community where they can be trained all the way through, from getting well to getting educated to having the jobs with the travelers that we bring through. Just to have that opportunity to see the formation for those folks. It's been a really wonderful experience, and it's just one example of how we sort of try to start from the ground up and stay there for the long haul.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
I think
you.
This was a fabulous little talk. Paula Vlamings, Associate Director of Planeterra. If you guys want to find more information, go to planeterra.com.
.org.
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 Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
We're an org.
But they have a lot of great programs, and you can get involved in so many different things. Anything really, I think that you're really feeling, whether it's volunteering or donating or getting involved with community organized projects.
Yeah, we have a lot of projects you can visit. So there's a whole host of projects that if you're interested in really getting engaged and connected, we can take you there.
Awesome.